Watch till the end. Welcome to our channel. Today we explore the hidden truths, stories, and meanings behind life's most familiar traditions. From birthdays and cultural rituals to spiritual reflections and moments that shape our lives, we dive deep into the why behind what we do. Hi, welcome to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us. Here, you'll discover A. The origins and spiritual significance of birthdays and celebrations. B. Ancient rituals and myths that shaped human culture. C. Life lessons, reflection tips, and mindful living practices. And D. Thought-provoking stories that make you see everyday traditions in a new light. Whether you love uncovering fascinating history, seeking personal growth, or simply reflecting on life's mysteries, this channel gives you insight, awareness, and inspiration for every year of your journey. Disclaimer. This video is not to offend anyone, or change any views on birthdays, but for you to get an insight of celebrating birthdays. Let's get right into it. The truth about celebrating birthdays. More than cake and candles. Every year, like clockwork, birthdays arrive with balloons, candles, cake, and a chorus of, "Happy Birthday." Social media fills with tributes, photos, and well wishes. For many, it's a joyful tradition. For others, it's complicated, emotional, or even uncomfortable. But what's the real truth about celebrating birthdays, and why do we do it in the first place? Where birthday celebrations really came from. Birthday celebrations didn't start with greeting cards or party hats. Historically, birthdays were tied to ancient beliefs about spirits, protection, and fate. In some early cultures, people believed evil spirits were especially active on a person's birthday, so friends and family gathered to offer protection and good fortune. Over time, birthdays evolved from spiritual rituals into cultural celebrations, markers of survival, growth, and time passed. Reaching another year meant you had endured life's challenges and lived to see another cycle of the sun. In that sense, birthdays were never just about cake, they were about life itself. The pressure we don't talk about. In modern society, birthdays often come with unspoken pressure. Pressure to look happy. Pressure to host or attend parties. Pressure to measure success by age. Pressure to receive validation through gifts or social media posts. For some people, birthdays highlight loss, unmet goals, aging, or loneliness. Not everyone feels like celebrating, and that's okay. The truth is, birthdays can bring up emotions we don't always feel safe expressing. Celebration shouldn't feel like an obligation. Next, age, time, and the myth of falling behind. One of the hardest truths about birthdays is how they force us to confront time. Society attaches expectations to age. 1. Where you should be in life. 2. What you should have achieved, and 3. How you should look. But life doesn't run on a universal clock. Everyone's journey unfolds differently. A birthday isn't a deadline, it's simply a reminder that you're still here, still learning, still becoming. Not everyone celebrates, and that's valid. Some cultures and belief systems choose not to celebrate birthdays at all. Others observe them quietly, spiritually, or privately. There is no universal rule that says a birthday must involve a party, gifts, or public recognition. The truth is, how you acknowledge your birthday should align with your values, not tradition, trends, or social expectations. Reflection, gratitude, prayer, rest, journaling, travel, or doing absolutely nothing are all valid ways to mark the day. What a birthday can truly represent. At its core, a birthday is not about age, it's about existence. It's a pause, a moment to reflect, a chance to honor survival, healing, growth, and lessons learned. Whether you celebrate loudly or quietly, the most meaningful birthdays are the ones rooted in intention, not performance. Redefining the way we celebrate. Maybe the truth about birthdays is this: they're not meant to impress others, prove happiness, or compete with anyone else's life. They're personal. You get to decide what your birthday means. You get to decide how, or if, you celebrate. And you get to change that decision every year. Because the real celebration isn't the party. It's the fact that you're still here. Blowing out birthday candles feels fun and harmless, but the tradition has a long and interesting history that most people never hear about. The real reason we blow out birthday candles. The practice goes back thousands of years to ancient Greece. People baked round cakes to honor Artemis, the goddess of the moon. Candles were added to make the cake glow like the moon, and the smoke from the extinguished candles was believed to carry prayers and wishes up to the gods. When you blew out the candles, you made a silent wish because speaking it was thought to weaken its power. That idea, smoke carrying messages to the divine, shows up in many cultures, not just Greece. Candles as protection and power. In earlier times, fire was believed to have protective and spiritual power. Birthdays were thought to be vulnerable moments when spirits could influence a person's fate. Lighting candles symbolized light overcoming darkness, and blowing them out marked the end of that vulnerable moment. Friends and family gathered around not just to celebrate, but to protect. Why one breath matters. The power of a single breath. Blowing out all the candles in one breath wasn't just for fun. The idea of blowing out all candles in one breath symbolized strength and vitality for the year ahead. Control over one's life force. A successful transition into a new year of life. Failing to blow them out at once was sometimes seen as bad luck, another belief that survived through tradition rather than logic. From spiritual ritual to party tradition. Over time, the spiritual meaning faded, especially in Western cultures. What was once a ritual involving gods, wishes, and protection became a playful party moment, often the most anticipated part of the celebration. Today, most people do it without knowing why, proof of how ancient rituals quietly survive in modern life. The truth behind the wish. The silent wish represents hope. Whether or not someone believes the smoke carries prayers upward, the act creates a pause, a moment where a person focuses on desire, gratitude, or intention. In that sense, blowing out candles is less about superstition and more about human psychology, marking time, expressing hope, and feeling supported by others. Making a wish while blowing out birthday candles feels playful and innocent, but the tradition has deep historical and symbolic roots that go far beyond modern birthday parties. The origin of the birthday wish. The custom traces back to ancient Greece, where people offered round cakes to Artemis, the goddess of the moon. Candles were placed on the cakes to resemble the moon's glow. When the candles were blown out, people believed the smoke carried their prayers and wishes upward to the gods. This belief, that smoke acts as a messenger between humans and the divine, also appears in ancient Egyptian, Roman, and later religious traditions involving incense and burnt offerings. Why the wish must be silent. One of the most persistent rules is that you must keep your wish secret. Historically, people believed that speaking a wish aloud would weaken its power, invite interference from negative forces, and cause the wish to fail. Silence was thought to protect the intention, keeping it pure until it reached the spiritual realm. Fire, breath, and intention. Fire has long symbolized life, protection, and transformation, while breath represents spirit or soul in many ancient cultures. When you blow out the candles, you're combining breath, which represents life, and fire, which represents energy, in a moment of intention. In simple terms, you breathe your hope into the future. In earlier times, birthdays were seen as vulnerable moments. The ritual helped mark the end of that vulnerable period and the beginning of another year of survival. Why the tradition still works today. Even without believing in ancient gods, or spiritual forces, the act of wishing creates a mental and emotional focus. Psychologically, it encourages hope and optimism, goal setting even subconsciously. A sense of renewal. That's why the ritual still feels meaningful, it taps into something deeply human. That brief pause reminds us that time is moving forward and that possibility still exists. The truth behind the wish. The birthday wish isn't magic in the supernatural sense, it's symbolic magic. It's about marking time, expressing hope, and believing change is possible. Whether you see it as spiritual, cultural, or psychological, the wish represents a moment where you pause and say, I'm here, and I hope for more. The real truth about birthday wishes. Making a wish when blowing out candles isn't magic in the supernatural sense. It's symbolic magic, a human ritual designed to mark time, express hope, and acknowledge survival. Whether celebrated loudly or quietly, the birthday wish is a reminder that you're still here, still dreaming, and still becoming. And sometimes, that's reason enough to celebrate. The hidden power of the birthday wish. The birthday wish is not a casual thought, it is an intention-setting ritual. Ancient spiritual belief held that wishes made during birthdays were amplified because the soul was in a receptive state. Silence protected the wish from interference. Speaking it aloud was believed to disperse its energy or invite opposition. Spiritually, the wish was a message sent from the soul to the unseen realm, carried upward by smoke. In short, you make a wish when blowing out birthday candles because 1. Ancient cultures believed smoke carried wishes to the divine. 2. Silence protected the wish's power. 3. The act symbolized renewal and hope. 4. Humans need rituals to mark growth and survival. That small moment of wishing connects modern birthdays to ancient human traditions, proving that even the simplest rituals can carry centuries of meaning. Let's sum this up. 1. Why we make a wish when blowing out birthday candles. Every birthday comes with a familiar moment. The lights dim, candles flicker, everyone sings, and just before the flames disappear, you're told to make a wish. It's a tradition so common that most people never stop to ask why it exists in the first place. The truth is, making a wish while blowing out birthday candles is not random, it's a ritual rooted in ancient belief, symbolism, and human psychology. 2. Ancient origins of the birthday wish. The tradition dates back thousands of years to ancient Greece. People baked round cakes to honor Artemis, the goddess of the moon. Candles were placed on the cakes to resemble the moon's glow, and when the candles were extinguished, the rising smoke was believed to carry prayers and wishes up to the gods. This belief wasn't unique to Greece. Many ancient cultures believed smoke acted as a bridge between the human world and the spiritual realm. Burning incense, offerings, and candles were all ways to send messages upward. When you make a wish and blow out candles, you're unknowingly participating in a ritual that once had spiritual significance. 3. Why the wish must stay secret. One of the most enduring rules of birthday wishes is silence. You're not supposed to say your wish out loud. Historically, this wasn't just superstition, it was protection. Ancient beliefs suggested that speaking a wish aloud could weaken its power or invite negative forces to interfere. Silence was seen as a way to keep the intention pure until it reached its destination. Even today, keeping the wish private adds to its mystery and emotional weight. Let's get into the myth about celebrating birthdays. Throughout history, birthdays have carried myths, fears, and spiritual meanings that go far deeper than modern parties and gifts. Long before birthdays became joyful celebrations, many cultures believed they were dangerous, powerful, or spiritually sensitive moments in a person's life. Here are some of the most common myths about celebrating birthdays, and where they come from. The myths about celebrating birthdays. 1. Birthdays attract evil spirits. One of the oldest birthday myths is that a person is most vulnerable to evil spirits on their birthday. Ancient cultures believed that turning another year older placed someone at a spiritual crossroads, making them susceptible to negative forces. This is why friends and family gathered around the birthday person, not just to celebrate, but to offer protection. Loud singing, bright candles, and joyful noise were meant to scare away bad spirits. 2. Candles protect you from harm. Candles weren't originally decorative. Fire was believed to hold protective and cleansing power. Lighting candles on a birthday symbolized light overcoming darkness and guarding the individual during this vulnerable time. Blowing out the candles marked the end of the danger period and the start of a new year of life. 3. If you don't celebrate, bad luck will follow. In some traditions, failing to acknowledge a birthday was believed to invite misfortune, illness, or shortened life. Celebrating was thought to honor fate and acknowledge survival. Ironically, in other cultures, the belief was the opposite, that celebrating too much could invite jealousy from spirits or disrupt destiny. 4. Birthday wishes can come true. The myth of the birthday wish is one of the most popular. People believed that wishes made during birthdays were more powerful than at any other time, because the spiritual veil was thinner. This belief is why wishes had to be silent, so their power wouldn't be broken or interfered with. 5. You must blow out all candles at once. Another common myth says that if you don't blow out all the candles in one breath, your wish won't come true, or bad luck will follow. Symbolically, one breath represented strength, health, and control over life's energy. Multiple attempts were thought to weaken the ritual. 6. Celebrating too much shortens your life. Some ancient beliefs warned that drawing too much attention on your birthday could anger spirits or gods. Excessive celebration was seen as tempting fate or inviting envy from unseen forces. This myth still echoes today in cultures that prefer quiet or private birthdays. 7. Your birthday determines your destiny. Astrological myths claim that the day you're born influences your personality, luck, and life path. While astrology varies by culture, many believed your birthday permanently marked your destiny and spiritual alignment. This belief fueled both celebration and fear, depending on the interpretation. The truth behind the myths. Most birthday myths were created to explain A. Fear of the unknown. B. High infant mortality and short life expectancy. C. Spiritual beliefs about time and transition. Birthdays mark survival, something that was never guaranteed in ancient times. Today, these myths survive mostly as tradition and symbolism rather than belief. The myth about celebrating birthdays isn't that birthdays are magical, it's that they are powerful moments of transition. Ancient people understood that time changes and they created rituals to protect, honor, and make sense of that change. Whether you celebrate loudly, quietly, or not at all, birthdays remain one of humanity's oldest ways of saying, I survived another year. The spiritual truth and myths about celebrating birthdays. A deep dive into time, energy, and the soul. Birthdays are often treated as harmless celebrations, cake, candles, laughter, and wishes. But spiritually, birthdays have long been viewed as powerful thresholds in a person's life. Across ancient civilizations, they were not just moments of joy, but times of heightened spiritual activity, vulnerability, and transformation. To understand the spiritual myths surrounding birthdays, we must look beyond modern tradition and into the ancient understanding of time, energy, and the soul. Birthdays as spiritual gateways. Spiritually, birthdays were seen as gateways between cycles. Completing another year meant crossing from one energetic phase into another. Ancient belief systems taught that transitions, birth, death, and yearly anniversaries were moments when the spiritual veil thinned. Because of this, birthdays were thought to be moments when 1. A person's spiritual protection was weakened. 2. Energies from other realms were more active. 3. Destiny and fate could be influenced. This belief is why birthdays were surrounded by rituals meant to guard the soul. The myth of destiny activation. Some spiritual traditions believed each birthday reactivated a person's soul contract, a reminder of purpose, lessons, and karma. This is why astrology, numerology, and birth charts are tied so closely to birthdays. A birthday was believed to reinforce destiny, not change it, but conscious intention could influence how destiny unfolded. The myth of spiritual vulnerability. One of the oldest spiritual myths is that the soul is most exposed on its birthday. Ancient cultures believed the soul momentarily revisited the conditions of birth, symbolically resetting its spiritual imprint. This vulnerability made birthdays dangerous in spiritual belief systems. To counter this, families gathered, lit fires or candles, sang loudly, and stayed close. These actions weren't celebration, they were spiritual defense mechanisms. Noise repelled negative entities. Light disrupted darkness. Community strengthened spiritual protection. Candles as living light. Spiritually, fire represents divine presence, consciousness, and life force. Candles placed on birthday cakes symbolized A. The soul's light continuing another year. B. Protection against unseen forces. C. Guidance for the spirit entering a new cycle. The flames were not meant to be admired, they were guardians. Blowing out the candles symbolized sealing the transition and closing the spiritual doorway. Why some spiritual paths reject birthday celebrations. Not all spiritual systems embrace birthdays. Some believe that celebrating reinforces ego, attachment to time, or illusion of self. Others warn that public celebration draws spiritual attention, both positive and negative. This belief fuels the idea that birthdays should be observed quietly, with reflection, gratitude, fasting, or prayer rather than excess. The spiritual truth behind the myths. The deeper spiritual truth is not that birthdays are dangerous or magical, but that they are moments of awareness. Time reminds the soul of impermanence, growth, and purpose. Birthdays force reflection. 1. Who am I becoming? 2. What lessons have I learned? 3. What energy do I carry forward? Ancient myths attempted to explain these feelings through spiritual language. Reflection on the matter. Spiritually, a birthday is not about aging, it is about continuation. It is the soul acknowledging that it has endured another cycle of experience. Whether celebrated loudly or in silence, the birthday remains one of the oldest spiritual markers of human existence. Not because of cake or candles, but because the soul remembers time. The dark spiritual truth about celebrating birthdays. What ancient traditions knew, and modern culture ignores. Birthdays are sold to us as harmless fun. Cake, candles, gifts, and attention. But spiritually, birthdays were never meant to be lighthearted celebrations. In many ancient belief systems, they were considered dangerous spiritual checkpoints, moments when the soul was exposed, energy was reset, and unseen forces paid attention. Modern culture turned birthdays into parties. Ancient cultures treated them as rituals of survival. And that difference matters. Birthdays were never about celebration. The idea that birthdays should be celebrated is relatively modern. In many ancient societies, birthdays were feared rather than enjoyed. They marked a moment when a person's spiritual protection was weakest, a time when fate, spirits, and destiny could intervene. That's why early birthday gatherings were not parties. They were watchful vigils. People stayed close. Fires were lit. Noise was made, not for fun, but to repel what couldn't be seen. Candles were not decorations, they were spiritual shields. Candles on a birthday cake are often dismissed as tradition, but spiritually, fire was believed to create a barrier between worlds. The flame represented consciousness and divine presence. Blowing out the candles wasn't a game. It symbolized closing a spiritual doorway that had briefly opened. Yet today, people blow out candles while others laugh, film, and cheer, completely unaware of what the act originally represented. The birthday wish is a spell in disguise. This is where the tradition turns uncomfortable. In ancient spiritual systems, spoken intention during liminal moments was considered a form of magic. Making a silent wish while extinguishing flame was believed to send intention into unseen realms. Silence mattered because intention was power. From a controversial spiritual perspective, birthday wishes functioned like mini rituals of manifestation, something modern spirituality repackages but rarely acknowledges in everyday traditions. Whether you believe it or not, the ritual structure remains intact. Why some spiritual traditions reject birthdays entirely. Certain religious and spiritual groups refuse birthday celebrations altogether, and not because they are joyless. They believe birthdays 1. Feed ego and self-worship. 2. Anchor identity to time rather than spirit. 3. Invite unnecessary spiritual attention. 4. Distract from gratitude toward the source of life. From this perspective, celebrating oneself once a year isn't harmless, it's spiritually misaligned. The problem with public birthday energy. Another controversial belief is that public celebration creates energetic exposure. Attention, envy, admiration, and intention, positive or negative, are all forms of energy directed at one person. Ancient people were cautious about attracting too much focus during spiritually vulnerable moments. Modern culture encourages it. Photos, posts, tags, countdowns, and public praise turn birthdays into energetic spotlights, something ancient spiritual systems would have warned against. Time, ego, and the illusion of control. Birthdays reinforce the idea that time belongs to us, that aging is something to be celebrated or feared. Spiritually, time was seen as an illusion humans were trapped within, not masters of. Counting years can subtly bind identity to A. Achievement by age. B. Fear of aging. C. Comparison and inadequacy. From this lens, birthdays don't liberate, they condition. So should birthdays be celebrated at all? Here's the uncomfortable truth. There is no neutral birthday celebration. Every ritual carries intention, whether conscious or not. Celebrating without awareness doesn't remove the ritual, it just makes it unconscious. Some people celebrate loudly and thrive. Others feel drained, emotional, or unsettled around their birthdays for reasons they can't explain. Ancient traditions would say the soul remembers something the mind forgot. The real spiritual question. The controversy isn't whether birthdays are good or bad. The real question is, who are you honoring, and why? Is it gratitude for life? Attachment to ego? Fear of time? Or unconscious participation in an ancient ritual you never chose? Birthdays didn't begin as celebrations. They began as warnings. Modern culture turned spiritual thresholds into parties, and called it harmless. Whether you blow out candles or sit quietly in reflection, the moment still holds power. The only difference is awareness. And awareness, spiritually, changes everything. Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow us on all social media platforms. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and leave a comment.